Hey guys, it's Blue Gal. Yeah, you can tell it's really humid here from my hair. Oh my god. Alright. Hi. Quick video blog today. No salon tonight. I'm getting ready to travel again, so we will not be doing salon for the entire month of July. But I wanted to share with you, when I was driving back from Chicago yesterday, I had the opportunity to listen to Bob Edwards' Weekend, which I've never listened to that before. It's in the Chicago market up at on NPR. And they had on two guests back-to-back that I found fascinating. One was a guy named Paul Roberts, who wrote The End of Oil, and now he has a new book out called The End of Food. And the food crisis is a pretty heavy topic, but he made it very interesting and talked about how a lot of the choices that we make as consumers, like shopping at Walmart, which I don't do, but also, you know, the average American spends half an hour a day preparing food and 4.5 hours a day watching television. And those kind of choices of choosing highly packaged, highly produced product over things that might be fresher and better for you and not quite so processed is leading directly to a crisis in food supply. And it was really interesting how he talked about the food industry, which I always think of as kind of a you know, George Carlin talking about military intelligence and these oxymorons that don't fit together. I always think the food industry doesn't quite fit together. But it was really fascinating. As he started talking about it and talking about he even got into the meat packing industry, and that's when I thought about, you know, Upton Sinclair, and are we really back to the muckrakers? Do we need to go back to being muckrakers again? And I think we do. There's so much corruption in our current government. Surprise, surprise. We can be smug about that and say, oh yes, you know, we learned lessons of history, and this is just big evil corporations have taken over America again. It's a cycle, and now we'll have the progressives take over, and we progressives will make it all better. And I think we have to be really careful about that. The progressives in the early 20th century made a lot of mistakes. They were incredibly racist. They were incredibly moralistic and brought about, you know, prohibition, which was a complete failure. And there are all kinds of ways that we progressives, in an effort to make the world better, I think can really screw things up. So we need to be careful that we don't moralize. We don't think we're right about everything all the time. And keeping the pressure up on the government is great, but the government, you know, there's two parties in America now, inside the Beltway and outside the Beltway. And we've got to be outside the Beltway and not impressed with the workings of Washington, D.C., I think. I love what Upton Sinclair said in 1906, when he was 28, about his experience with the meatpacking industry and bringing about so many reforms with one book, with The Jungle. He got the attention of the Inside the Beltway and, you know, the Food and Drug Administration, which is now part of the problem. But at the time, there was no such thing, and when it was created, that was a tremendous reform. And after his book attained amazing popularity, he said, "It seemed to me that the walls of the mighty fortress of greed were on the point of cracking. It only needed one rush, and then another, and then another. And it needs another, and another, and another, and another. It's not going to be easy, and being right is not going to be enough." So, you know, break out your Howard Zinn. And I hope everyone got the memo. We're all reading Huckleberry Finn this summer. This is how the mainstream media has decided to prepare us for a black president. Is Time Magazine said, oh, we all need to read this. Okay. The other guest who was on right after that was Russell Banks, who's a novelist. I've read a couple of his books, and he's written a work of nonfiction called Dreaming Up America. And Bob Edwards asked him about the Depression, and he said, well, what happened during the Depression was capitalism failed. And I'm driving and just thought, oh my gosh. Again, pull out your Russell Banks and read what Russell Banks. Pull out your Russell Banks and pull out your Howard Zinn and celebrate that someone on the radio can actually make such a commie statement. Anyway, no salon tonight. I'm going to link. It's bobedwardsradio.com has free podcast of this weekend's show. Well worth listening to Paul Roberts. His book, End of Food, I looked at it yesterday in the bookstore, and it's thick and full of facts and very dense. But the interview with him was fascinating, and then Russell Banks was fascinating too. So highly recommend going to bobedwardsradio.com and taking a look and listen. All right, have a great week. No salon tonight, and I will maybe talk to you next week. I will be, again, getting ready to travel. It's just the next few weeks are really busy in terms of summertime and getting ready for lots of travel. All right, take care. We'll talk to you later.